At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
It was just making me laugh, but like there is something nice about being like, oh, the priest is just God. Like, just go with that.
What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood.
But it was a lack of confidence that caused the searching, not the searching causing the lack of confidence.
With Margaret Abels
And Amy Wilson.
Don't Google, just listen to this podcast.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to.
There's too many of you in the back seat, so just share seatbelts and double buckle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy, and this week we're asking the question, is there just too much parenting information out there?
I mean, the answer, Amy, is yes. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks for listening.
to this episode. Be sure to subscribe.
I have some gray areas for you. There's some studies. I got some research. I am here to argue that sometimes the information that we can gain for ourselves definitely helps with some tricky situations. And of course, there's times when it can be overwhelming and way too much.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be our old friend, the double-edged sword, but...
Yeah.
All right. Start us off, Amy. You're in charge today.
The problem is information overload, right? Like presumably the only problem with too much information is overload. So information overload, I'm going with a professional definition here. We're going to define it as the tipping point when the input of information exceeds an individual's capacity to process it.
Is that the only problem, that I can't process it? Or is there also a huge problem that I wish I just didn't know the information?
Well, information overload can also involve feeling overwhelmed and stressed by the information one receives, right?
Okay, this is more my problem.
I think what we're saying is there's a point where what is it called? The Dunning-Kruger effect. The less you know about something, the more you think you know about it. Who's the famous astrophysicist? Who's like the fun?
With the fun ties?
Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson would be like, we know nothing about deep space. He spent his whole life studying it, and he would tell you he's only begun to scratch the surface of what there is to know. Whereas the typical 10-year-old that just studied the planets and science is like, oh, I know a lot about the solar system. I got all the facts. The less you know, the more you think you know. The more you study, the more overwhelmed you are by how much there is to know.
I think that's true. And I'm not a big head in the sand as a go-to, but I do feel strongly that I know too much.
Well, there's a point where the information searching can lead you to feel more confused than knowledgeable.
More nervous. That's my problem. I was happier not knowing so many things that I know. Ignorance is bliss, Amy. I think that's my kind of default.
To start with the obvious sort of third rail and the one that everybody's dealt with in the last couple of years, dealing with it right now, like, should my kid get the vaccine? Is it available if I want to get it? Should they get it if they had COVID within the last 4 months? Should they get it if they've never had COVID? Should. There is no one good source of information on that. There's approximately 75,000 people who have hung out a shingle and declared themselves experts with completely contradictory advice. And the more you look into it, the more confused you get.
I have to push back on that. I trust doctors more than other people.
Oh, let me say, yeah, I have a history with COVID. My kids are going to get vaccinated. But I understand that if you go looking for the best information for the right answer, even pediatricians are like, yeah, it's kind of like...
I think the majority of the medical community is in full agreement that vaccines are good.
Well, we should at least be in agreement upon. I think we've coined a new word, agreeance.
Yes, I just used the word agreeance because someone told it to me a long time ago, and I think it's a funny word, so I like to use it. But there is no such word as agreeance, but I do like to use it.
Can we be in agreement that not getting COVID is better than getting COVID? Like, can we be in agreement on that? I'm not even so sure we all agree on that anymore, but that's the truth.
Yeah, and I do think that vaccines, to me, is an example of the problem with the microphone size. There are people who are experts and there are people who have large microphones, and that they're not the same thing. I trust my experts. And I think in general that we've kind of lost the idea. I mean, back in the day, the president spoke from this position of authority, and people didn't really question the president. He was the leader.
Back in the day, like 2001, after 9/11, Bush talked and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We can like it, we can not like it. We're united.
But this is what we're doing. We had a recent issue with our local church, and the priest did something kind of crazy. And a group of moms wrote a letter, held a meeting, and like 3 or 4 of the women in that group said that their mothers were appalled that they were questioning the priest. The idea that you would question a priest was so out of bounds to them, even though for our generation, we were like, well, they did something crazy and someone has to tell them it's crazy so that we can have a better church. There's obviously, as we do not need to explain, tons of problems with ultimate authorities who are never questioned.
Right, with any unquestioned authority figure of any sort.
I think it's great that people are like voicing more questions about authority. But there is this clear downside that like if everyone's authority is equal, we're in total chaos. When I used to live in California, they have ballot measures where you vote. And the issue is something like, should we spend money to dam the blah, blah, blah river that I've never heard of? And then all of the ads on TV are like, if you dam this river, every single piece of wildlife will die and you will be a monster. And then like you watch another ad and it's like, if we don't dam this river, you might as well drown yourself in the bathroom today because that is what is going to happen. And I just think I want my elected representative to research this and vote correctly.
Right. Of course, like back in the day where you did what the pediatrician said and the pediatrician would pat you on the head. Lots of kids didn't get the stuff they needed. Many's the time I've read the story about the mom knew something was wrong. The mom knew something was wrong and she was patronized and sent home and there's something wrong. So there is something to be said for being the expert on yourself and your kid. But of course it can go too far. So I want to sort of dial like, where's the right amount? Because I think there's too much and I think there's not enough. This was an interesting statistic that I saw, that most parents today report using the internet for parenting advice every single day. Googling something, researching something every day.
I mean, let me just say thank God for you people because it keeps us in business. Thank God.
You should listen to What Fresh Hell every day.
We are parenting advice givers. Don't Google, just listen to this podcast.
We're here to be like, here's what some people say, here's what some other people say. We think you got to figure it out for yourself. I mean, I feel like this is what we do every single week.
That seems insane to me. Like, I can't remember even before doing the podcast when I had really little kids being on the internet and looking stuff up. I mean, I guess I would.
I used message boards back in the early 2000s when my kids were little. We're talking like 2005, 2007. There were message boards, almost like a Facebook group would be now, where you could ask questions, get questions answered. And I would look at those. But they were anonymous, so they would get mean and they would get snarky. So then at some point I was like, again, why am I listening to Paula P265 tell somebody?
Certainly I had a child who had a diagnosis going on. I Googled that almost obsessively, and to the point where I had to cut myself off to be like, this is not actually helping me.
Because there was information overload where you got overwhelmed instead of, it made you feel worse instead of better.
Well, and it is that kind of situation where you just read 10 things and you get 10 different pieces of advice. And it's like, okay, this is actually useless.
Yeah. And it's also true, same study, that mothers do this more often. Because I think so many of us are default parents, but the study underlined the very obvious thing that my husband wasn't looking up, today your baby is the size of a melon and tomorrow it's the size, like he was not nearly as enchanted with.
He was, however, making this sound when you told him at the dinner table. Oh, that was his contribution.
Right. I was definitely a little bit more interested in every, wonder of my changing body. So I did get into it during pregnancy. I think more books than internet then, but at least with books, there's some, like, somebody had to care enough about this to print this. There's some modicum of fact checking that happens in Baby Talk magazine that doesn't happen when somebody just sort of says something on the internet. And I think that there's been this sort of democratization of microphone, which is great. Like, it's great for us. We have an independent podcast. We built an audience. We don't have to work for NPR. But on the other hand, it does mean anybody can tell you any old thing. And it kind of feels, we can sometimes misperceive it as right because it's on the internet.
I mean, this is the big problem, is that somebody said not original to me. Everyone has the same size microphone, and that's kind of insane. Even people who know you should have a bigger size microphone. And then I would strenuously argue that people who went to medical school should have a bigger size microphone about medical things. And astrophysicists should have a bigger size microphone. It doesn't mean they never make mistakes. You can have a bad experience with anybody.
Right.
But doctors know more than non-doctors when it comes to medicine. Like, come at me. It's absolute. I think I have a major key to this topic that kind of unlocks something central to what's going on. Let's take a break, Amy, and I will show you my key.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
I think a huge problem that exists fundamental to parenting is the need for control that is unfillable. It's an unscratchable itch for control.
Certainty, right?
Certainty and control. Certainty is part of control. Bad things happen to children that are out of our control. They get sick, they fall, they get into accidents. There are 1,000 possible things that could happen to any given child on any given day that are beyond our control. And we know about these things and we hear about these things. And so we seek the illusion of control that we think can be found in information.
Right. Or at least some of us do. Like, that's definitely the more I know, the more certain I'll feel, the more in control I'll feel, for sure.
I think that's most people, that somehow that we are so uncomfortable. And I don't mean like we're so stupid and uncomfortable. I mean, it is such a disquieting and uncomfortable feeling to feel that we have no control over the bad things that are going to happen, that we seek that control everywhere. I sometimes seek that control, as I have discussed, by tapping things in a very specific order because I have OCD. And like, do I actually believe that tapping the picture on my left when every time I leave my bedroom is doing anything? No, I guess not rationally, but can I stop doing it? No.
Okay.
Lowers my blood pressure. But I do think that this like relentless information industrial complex is being fed by, if I know enough, I can stop bad things happening. And that is a fool's game to a certain degree.
So there's something happening with Google in recent years that is also going to make this, I think, harder. This guy, Cory Doctorow, writes about it, and I'm going to call it mess-upification. He uses a more colorful slang word. It's mess-upification. Software, what they promise you, starts to get messed up on purpose. So this blew my mind when I understood this. Have you noticed that Google search is starting to get a little more confusing? When you do Google something, if you Google a hotel, like the actual website for the hotel is like 10th on the page now. Just the other day, I bought Broadway tickets from some weird scalper website, and I thought I was going to the Broadway show to buy tickets, but instead I was served an ad and I ended up paying like a fee I didn't have to pay. So the reason that's happening, it's for two reasons. One is Google allows paid advertising, right? So you can pay to have your, I'm a baby expert now. I'm a baby sleep expert. My results can appear at the top of a Google search by spending a little bit of money, and then it'll appear above St. Jude's Hospital or something, right? But the other thing that's going on is that if Google gets too good, too efficient as a search engine, then we don't stay. Our searches are short because we get what we need and we leave. And in order for there to be eyeballs, in order to serve you more ads, the search needs to get harder. So when you go looking for this information, if you go looking for, like I said, a hotel, or like my baby's pulling on her ear, is that an earache or not, you're kind of more likely to be served a really muddy page of search results than you were just a couple of years ago. And I think we don't perceive that yet. We perceive that the search results at the top of the page are going to be the most reliable. They're the most heavily indexed. They're not. They're the ones that we're paid for. And so it just means that when you do go search, there's a lot of sludge, and a lot of the stuff at the top is more suspect, but it doesn't feel that way to us. We think it should be the most reliable because it's at the top.
Yeah. And this is similar to shopping sites that I didn't really understand this until fairly recently, that if you plug into the search bar on a giant online retailer, let's say, that's paid too. Why did I somehow think that you could just pop something into search and like the three best ones come up first? Like, of course they don't. The three ones that paid extra come up first.
Right.
And it is the information that you're getting is not necessarily the best information. And I would also argue when it comes to information, is the information even always information you need? That's what I wonder about. Do you need to know that bump that is 90% likely to be a pimple or an ingrown hair could also be some grievous form of cancer that's going to murder you within the next 6 months? I don't like to be arguing in favor of ignorance, but the over-connectedness, and we've talked about this with social media experts too, that the ability to make stupid mistakes and be ignorant in your small community is now, someone put that on TikTok and now you can't function in the world when you're 40.
Yeah, I want to quote Laura Love Harden. She was a Fresh Take guest we had a couple months ago, and it wasn't about making mistakes online necessarily, but she said, I am not the worst thing I have ever done. Each of us are more than the worst thing we've ever done. And I thought, right, but not when our teenagers, ill-advised thing is going to haunt them during their college search. It does kind of follow you around. Very available.
It's hard now. The worst thing you've ever done is like supremely Googleable. And I certainly know people who have used genetic websites that trace your DNA and your ancestry and found out really difficult information. I also know people who have decades ago made decisions about babies they were having or giving away or not having, and that events that they thought they had completely left behind for very, very, very solid and valid reasons. And yeah, our ability to be private, to keep secrets is disappearing. On the other hand, it's a lot harder to murder people. Like, there are some upsides.
I have a study. Can we talk about this study? Because I thought this was kind of interesting. So 2 professors of psychology and parent-child relationships, I'll put the link in the show notes. They decided to study how searching for information online is linked to parental self-efficacy. So that was what they were sort of solving for. So they called parental self-efficacy a parent's belief that you can do a good job parenting your kid. So it's kind of like self-confidence. I'll call it self-confidence just because parental self-efficacy is long. So does searching online affect self-confidence? They studied 200 mothers, all Swedish. So your mileage may vary, but these were people in Sweden.
Don't compare yourself to the
small.
Swedes.
It's a small study, but it was interesting. And I saw this reported a bunch of places. So the results, they suspected that the more you searched online, the less secure that you would become, the less confident you would become. And that also that people who were already pretty self-confident in their parenting probably didn't do very much searching. They got sort of mixed results on their hypothesis. They found that parents who weren't self-confident did search online more frequently for information than parents who were. Makes sense, right? I would certainly look about something I wasn't self-confident about. So you're more likely to search online for stuff when you're not feeling confident. But searching more didn't make parents' confidence either increase or decrease. It wasn't like the more you searched, the more confident you became, or the more you searched, the less confident you became. They found that just sort of like confident parents didn't search that much and less confident parents did, but it was a lack of confidence that caused the searching, not the searching causing the lack of confidence, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, as soon as you started talking about this survey, I was like, wait a minute. Like, clearly there's a defining principle here that like less confident people would search more. That definitely tracks. But I also think it's so in the groundwater also. Like, that's the thing. You don't necessarily have to be a person in search of parenting advice. If you're using social media, you are seeing people parenting performatively all over the place. You are seeing that like this kid, got into this school, or this kid made this team, or look at how they're all sitting around and doing a hot cocoa party on a Thursday afternoon. You're getting a lot of passive imagery about both people who are performing parenting well, and also we just had a post the other day on my town Facebook page about, somebody left their kid in the car. Don't you know that kidnappers are everywhere, and they could grab kids out of the car. You're getting a lot of passive messages about like dangers to kids. I just feel like you don't even have to seek this information out to have it be being served to you very often.
That's right. Well, there was one sort of the first sort of takeaway I wanted to offer came from this study, which they did find the effects of information overload. So it wasn't that it made you more or less confident, but it would make you feel more or less overwhelmed. Sometimes this information overload could kick in. And they found that it was more likely to kick in when people just sort of like went to a search bar and typed in, my baby's cheeks are red, is it a toothache? When they just sort of started by shouting into the wind, those people were more likely to report feeling overwhelmed and confused by the information they received than people who had a few trusted sources. They said governmental. I think we would probably call those like .orgs or .edus. Like childmind.org is one that leaps to mind. That's an excellent resource. That if you start there, a source that you've trusted before, that you know is reliable, that you know is researched, that those people are less likely to be like, I don't know what to think now, because they picked one or two places and researched only those places.
Yeah, that makes sense. And people talk about this all the time about we should be educating kids and ourselves about like media literacy. When you look at this website, like, is it a legitimate website or is it like a shaky website? And they kind of have them like parse stuff out about like, okay, what's the address? What does it look like? And how to find good information online, because that's right. If you start in the void, you're going to be in big trouble.
Yes. Okay, more takeaways of ways to make this easier. We'll be right back. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. And now, what we knew then versus what we know now.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
Now,
call me when you leave school and then text me when you get home. And don't worry, between the two spots, I will track your every movement on my phone.
Then,
are you home already? Okay, grab a plate. There's some dinner left on the stove.
Now.
Listen, honey, I went to the firehouse twice to get the car seats checked, and they said the buckle of the 5-point harness needs to be exactly 6 inches under his chin.
Then,
there's too many of you in the back seat, so just share seatbelts and double buckle.
Now,
I've Googled her symptoms, and I have a precise diagnosis, which I will confirm on her telehealth appointment with the nurse in 6 minutes.
Then,
I don't know what that weird rash is. If it's still there in September when you have your physical, we'll ask the doctor about it.
Now,
I made this whole batch of homemade applesauce, but I found out the apples aren't 100% organic, so I'm just going to throw it away.
Then,
watch out. You're getting your cigarette ash on the baby's head.
This has been What We Knew Then versus What We Know Now.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. You know, one of the takeaways I was going to offer was that your sort of tipping point for information overload might also vary from, it certainly varies, I would say, between you and me, that I'm more of a like, well, let's go see what the 10 experts have to say about this. And that's okay. Like, that's how we're wired. So it might take me longer to reach a point of information overload or not, or also your parenting partner. Like, I'm definitely married to somebody who kind of counts on me to wonder about the weird bump. Like, I'll do it, so why does he have to do it?
Right. And what their threshold is, right? Like what their desire to know is.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah, I
don't think we have to convince everybody to have the same kind of approach to this information, but just to assess what's right for you.
For sure. And personally, I find that I draw some boundaries around my information wanting. People who send around, like, here's 8 different ways that you could be involved in a house fire. I'm like, I just either delete them, I soft delete, or I'm like, I actually don't want to know this information. And I have found, especially since having kids, had very bad postpartum anxiety, that I am not available for certain conversations anymore. And I know that there are people who verbally process terrible events in the world by giving voice to the 86 hideous images of those events that they saw. And that is important and part of their process. But I have gotten better at saying, I can't do this. I'll be up all night worrying, or I have to stop some of the influx of information personally because I can't handle it.
And just knowing that is so important for like setting your own boundaries.
Yeah. And I have a little OCD stuff going on. I have some intrusive thought problems and I perseverate on, I'm very careful about what movies I watch. Like I'll get a gross image from a movie I saw in 1983 stuck in my head. I'm like, I do not need to put bad images in my head because I don't know why, but I perseverate on them. And so I don't want to do that.
You know, you're taking the advice that Kara Goodwin gave in Psychology Today. So she did an article linking to this study we were just talking about in the previous section and some tips for information overload. And that was kind of one we hadn't really touched on yet. Pay attention to your feelings, she says, while doing these information searches. Do you feel more empowered and confident, or do you feel more ashamed and overwhelmed? When you start to feel overwhelmed, close the laptop. Or put your phone down.
Yeah, and I do think it can be hard. And I was there with a kid with a diagnosis that was extremely unclear. And the outcomes for that diagnosis seemed extremely wide and confusing to me. And I spent probably 6 months just Googling it obsessively and constantly. I mean, I was always on my laptop or on my phone searching for information, like at red lights, like insane. People would tell me to stop and I wasn't able to. I just couldn't. I don't know. I wasn't calm. I felt it so clearly as a coping mechanism. And so, like touching the picture on the way out the door, if you are doing this and you are aware that you are doing it and it feels kind of neutral to you as an outlet for stress, I would say you do you. But it's not really great for you. It's not really great for you. And so if it's an exercise and it's like a self-stimulating behavior that is the only thing getting you through, accept it as that and move on. But to the degree that you can say, like, this is actually kind of harmful for me and I should try to cut down on it, I think listen to that voice if you can.
It occurs to me that I've found this sort of middle ground around, I have a kid with some chronic health issues, and they wax and wane with like how important they feel and how much I'm worrying about them at a given time. I don't get served a lot of articles on these things because I look at them, right? The algorithm, Big Brother knows I like to look at articles on these things.
That's another good point that I would think we haven't really talked about. When you start searching for stuff, you're going to get served a lot more stuff about this.
Right. You're going to learn a lot more about like petechiae. I'm using that as a totally random example. Those red bumps could be petechiae. And you look up one article on it, then all of a sudden your feeds are full of articles on this thing like everybody else is talking about it. No, they're not. They're just serving this to you. But what I've started to do is if I look at an article, I glance at the headline, I see it like, oh, that sounds like it could be useful to me at some point. Like, is vitamin D the answer? Like, could adding more turmeric to your diet help with energy levels? Whatever. I have a place where I file those, like an online filing cabinet, basically, an app that I use, and I save them. I don't read them. I save them. And again, there are sources that I kind of trust, but even so, I don't need to read the article. If I know I might need it someday, just send it to that online thing. It's searchable later. If I need to find turmeric in 6 months, I can find it, but I don't need to read it right now. And I don't need to try to like remember it, synthesize it, decide if it's important to change anything about what I'm doing. That'll be there if I need it. That's my sort of maybe touching the pictures thing. I don't need to look at it now because I have it for later if I need it. And then guess what? I have hundreds of things I haven't read.
And I do think that like finding that trusted source and delegating, I remember someone talking to me about business stuff. So you and I came from entertainment backgrounds and, you know, now run a fairly sizable business all of a sudden. And I was doing X and Y and somebody was like, you really need to start figuring out like your delegation system, like who can do some of these things, because you can't do everything now. You're too busy. You're giving so much weight to stuff by going to X meeting or this thing. And like, you have to delegate that. Like, you have to think about like having ambassadors who go to things. And what does that look like? And who are these ambassadors? And I think that for me, ambassadors to information is another solution for me. That like, I want that trusted person. And yes, I have tried 4 different doctors, and now I have a pediatrician that I trust. I have a pediatrician in my extended family who I could always call and say, I've gotten 3 opinions on this. What would you do next? And I know people who are smart about different regions of the world and political stuff. And when I'm vote, I use a voter guide. I'm like, who aligns with my beliefs in the most ways possible? I do tend towards like, I'm going to put in a little bit of work to find the thing that I trust. And I'm not going to go crazy diving into it 1,000 different ways. I'm going to ask my trusted person.
So that was like another Kara Goodwin takeaway in this Psychology Today article, that your real life support network, when you are starting to feel overwhelmed. Yeah, my kid's pediatrician, perfect example. Like, I would trust whatever she told me. Should we do this or that? What do you think of this, that? And we just have a really good relationship, and she's fantastic. And so whatever she says, I can sleep at night because she knows best. And having that real life thing is the perfect antidote to what does AI think I should do?
I do think that sometimes you're avoiding the answer by Googling. And that's also okay to acknowledge that, like, sometimes you're not quite ready. Maybe your trusted person is going to be like, this is a tough diagnosis and it is going to have lifetime implications. And you're not quite ready for that information. So you're out there desperate Googling. It's fine if you're doing that, but I think it's good to know that. Maybe you're not making a budget because there's no way to make the money in your bank account pay the bills. Like, I get it. I've been there, and you're not always ready for the information. But as long as you kind of know on some level that, like, I'm pretending I have enough money because I hope I will soon, but right now I don't. It's fine to do that. I just don't think it's fine to do it in a way that is actually substituting for real information.
And for what you know to be true, right? You're looking for a way to talk yourself out of something, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There are real truths. There are truths and there are internet searches, and they are not the same thing. Period.
There are truths. I'm going to say that again. There are truths and there are internet searches, and they are not the same thing.
Not the same thing.
Unless you're listening to the What Fresh Hell podcast.
Everything we say is true and vaguely well informed. And some of it does come from Googling people. I'm not going to lie.
We're both right.
If you want an ultimate source of truth, it's the 5-star reviews of this podcast on Apple Podcasts. They are all true if they are 5 stars. If they are 1 stars, they are misguided. Mm-hmm. But we are trying to up our reviews. Kind of a boring thing about the algorithm. We need 1,000. We have 800. Here's what we're asking today. Would you go review this podcast on Apple Podcasts and say how much you like it and how it's your one source of truth? We would appreciate that very much.
You can give us some stars. You can write a review also. Everyone would help. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, that would be so nice of you. And with that, stop that Googling, friends.
Right.
Go out and take a walk.
Down.
Enjoy do some leaf peeping, and we will talk to you next time.
So long.